precious metals have proven themselves as hedges for millennia. Silver and gold are the first ones that come to mind. They're both monetary metals. They've been used as money for thousands of years. Silver, in fact, even before gold. And if you look at what's happened with those, if we look back even just in the past century, back in 1913, when the Fed was established, silver was 60 cents an ounce. Today, it's, say, $25. So if you calculate the compound rate of return on silver from 1913, you're actually looking at 3.88% compounded over 108 years. So yes, that came with a lot of fluctuation, but I'd rather have an ounce of silver that cost me 60 cents back then than have the 60 cents from back then, which would be worth essentially zero today. So, these things ebb and flow. Investors need to look at the kind of environment that we're in. There's something called recency bias that I just kind of want to explain. It basically means that it's a fancy term, but it kind of means that, people get complacent and they start to see the future as close to the near past. They expect things to continue to be the way they have been recently, and things can change dramatically, suddenly, very quickly. And so we are certainly entering an environment where it's rising inflation. And in those environments, it's been shown that stocks and bonds do not do well. Stocks tend to, on average, in a rising inflation rate, stocks tend to be down about 10%. Bonds tend to be down about 4% annually. And then you have precious metals that, in fact, mining shares tend to go up about, I think it's 13%. Precious metals up about 24%, and commodities up about 26% in this kind of environment. So hard assets, gold and silver in particular, are definitely the place to be with this sort of higher inflation and persistent high inflation environment.
And how, in general, do the mining stocks versus the physical metal perform in this kind of environment?
So they actually tend to leverage the price of silver or gold. They tend to do quite well. Of course, an investor is taking on risk by investing in a mining stock. So naturally, they need to be compensated for that risk. It doesn't mean that all these mining stocks will perform well. What we're looking at is, this group of stocks as these stocks as a group and as a sector and how they perform. So typical leverage, if you look at what they've done in the past, you're looking typically at about maybe 2 to 3 times what the silver or the gold price will perform. So it is a place to be. It's interesting too that investors don't need to take a whole lot of risk. If you look at gold mining shares, for example, gold producers, and even some of the mid-sized gold companies, producers or developers, but gold producers in particular, the top 50 gold producers are actually all now free, on average, all free cash flow positive. In about the last 2 years, that's something that hasn't been the case for them for about the previous 25 years. And as a sector, they actually outperform net of inflation nearly all other sectors. So, and then the yields, they pay dividends that are much better than bonds or bank accounts these days. You can get very easily, you can get yields on larger gold producers that will range anywhere from, say, 1% all the way up to even 4%. And that's in a sector that's very undervalued. So your risk is low, your yields tend to be high, and you're investing in a sector that has shown itself to perform well in this kind of environment.
I know you've talked about in the past, like $300 silver and some price predictions on the metals. As we're talking also about inflation and the dollar being devalued, how meaningful is a price like $300 silver?
Well, it's a very good point. And that's partly one of the reasons why my forecast or my target is that high, is because, if it's something that only happens 4 or 5 years down the road, it's going to be with even more devalued dollars. So in that sense, to me, it's it becomes a more realistic target because it will simply take that many more dollars to buy an ounce of silver. And, I don't get to these targets to be sensational.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
I have bad news for you. If you're not rich by now, you're screwed. And if you're in debt, you're even double screwed. How so, you might wonder? Well, the sad truth is that you're working your whole life to make someone else rich. The mega corporations, the banks, the politicians, everyone is getting richer. They get your money. And what is even worse, they get your time, they get your life. You are not even in a rat race, you're in a financial prison. But what could a solution for you look like? Honestly, I don't know, but I know what a solution for me would look like. It's very simple. I use whatever money I have and I multiply it with 1,000. This could make my life much easier and probably yours as well. If you have $1,000 available and multiply this with 1,000, I believe that this could solve some financial issue for the one or the other. Of course, if you're ugly, you would have to multiply it with much more than 1,000. My name is Markus Dahn, and this is what I decided to do. I decided to 1000x my money. This is not a joke. I know what you may be thinking. What is this guy talking about? How should this work? This is not possible. Well, I made a detailed video where I laid out my plan. And some clever folks might even want to look at this plan and copy it and do exactly what I do. This is just a little hint on the side. You have two options. You leave, you forget what you have seen. You do whatever you're doing and you hope that somehow you get some other results. Good luck with that. Or you click the link below the video. You enter your email address because I'm not showing this to everybody. You at least watch my video on how I plan to 1000x my money. The choice is yours. Make the right choice. Join me. See what a different future you could have. See at least how I plan to do the 1000x. So click on the link below, enter your email address, and I see you on the other side. Your Markus Dahn.